This is GetSelious and Sithscott, the best boys, and this time around we're going to be doing a review of Chinatown Detective Agency. Chinatown Detective Agency is a kind of a mystery point-and-click adventure game developed by General Interactive Co. Published by Humble Games, the makers of the many Humble bundles we love so much, and Whisper Games. As you can probably check the YouTube channel. We have done 2 full cases. One, I believe the second case is a bit longer than the first case, but we'll get into that later. And we have a lot of things to talk about this game. What it does right, what it does wrong, and things we like about the game or dislike about the game. And the first thing we're going to talk about is the graphics and aesthetics. So Scott, take it away. What do you think about the graphic aesthetics of the game?
Honestly, I really like the way that this game presented itself as a bit of a minimalist pixel approach, where it kind of let you soothe in the details from just the way the characters were overall constructed. It didn't have a lot of details to like kind of distract, but the details that it had was actually really well done.
That's true.
So I'm a big fan of just how the pixel art looks in this.
The pixel art's pretty good. I also enjoy the portrait of the game. Because there's a combination of both, so when you can have an idea what the character looks like. I did notice there's a slight weird variation where some characters in their portrait look nothing like what the character is, and then the pixel character, then in some of the cutscenes in the future, the pixel character will match their portrait. So I guess they just couldn't draw another portrait art with different things, but whatever. But I think the graphics and aesthetic is good. It has a good noir feel to it. The sceneries are all brightly lit and darkly lit depending on the area. So I think it looks pretty good on that end. What would you rate the graphics out of 5?
I would say probably a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I'm the same, but a 4. Solid. We recommend it. It looks really good. Solid 4 on the graphics. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is how the game sounds, and let's get this out the way. On the first case, there was a glitch in the game that it took us a while to fix. Where you would hear the footsteps everywhere for no reason. You had no idea what triggered it, but it just triggered, right? And that was really annoying. That really ruined a lot of the effects of the first case and then going over it. But other than that, the audio of the game is kind of, outside of the voice acting cutscenes, it feels almost non-existent. There isn't much music to the game. Like, kind of just feels
like the background music is just kind of like there. It doesn't really set the mood as well as it could have. I'd say the best part of this game is actually probably the voice acting in terms of the sound design.
Yeah, and the problem with the voice acting is, at least in my opinion, is if you have parts where it's like they voice act, obviously cutscenes, and then there's other parts that have no voice acting whatsoever. I feel like that kind of disconnects a lot. Either here's the thing, game developers: if you got a voice acting, commit to everything that voice acting. Okay, commit to everything, from talking to NPCs.
The actual important parts, because there were even like important parts, especially the second case, that wasn't voice acted.
Yeah, exactly. So, they be more committal to voice acting. But other than that, I feel like when I think of the audio and the voice acting, I would, even with a glitch aside, I'll probably have to give it a 3. It's serviceable. It's better than average, but it's better than like average, but not something I can go like, yeah, I loved it,
Yeah, I'd say a 3 as well on my end.
Yeah. And the next part is the part we're going to get really, 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 really dark deep into.
Buckle in, folks.
Well, buckle in. We're going to talk about that gameplay. Alright, so out of the gate, from a person who plays a lot of point-and-click adventure games, this game does a lot of things interesting, but a lot of things just awful. It just doesn't make sense. So, first tip out of the way. The game has a mechanic where you have to be considerate of time to travel anywhere. They have a weight meter So, in other point-and-click games, areas are locked behind you not completing a puzzle or you not having items to go there. Being locked by some artificial time thing that you have to keep track of, it just can be really, really, really annoying. That's just one. Scott, how do you feel about the time aspect of the game? Like, it should just be removed, right?
Honestly, I think, yeah, they should probably just have it where you select your flight and then just fly then. I don't get why they want you to, like, here, book your different flight time. Especially, I don't think that the money made much of a difference on waiting for specific times. There's always, like, what, $5.50 each flight?
Exactly.
If they're gonna use, like, a time mechanic, they should have at least done it where it's like, well, if you wait till, like, the morning, the flights will be cheaper, kind of deal. You know, like in real life.
Exactly, like in real life. That would be much better. And two, it's just like, no. It just, like, this whole booking mechanic just doesn't, it just seems very, like, fluff. It's kind of, like, stare. Didn't like that. Another mechanic I didn't like was a fan of, or at least could be explored better, was the web browser mechanic. So, in the game, there are things you have to research because there's some elements that are new. That web mechanic browser doesn't open, as you've seen, because I couldn't show you on the videos. It opens my own web browser, and we had to research it, which takes us out of the game. That is a huge, huge no-no.
I wasn't a fan of that either.
At that point, I might as well just use a walkthrough to beat your game, but I felt like the research mechanic is a good idea but done incorrectly. In other games that has a research mechanic that I'm aware of, such as games like Watch Eye Games, the Blackwell series, and the Shiva, a lot of those type of games have a research mechanic you can use that is in-game to help you find what you need. We didn't have to use, as Scott called it, Google Foo.
Yeah. So I really thought the interesting thing about being good or like bad at Google Foo is you'll find a lot of things that aren't related to what you're looking for, especially like when you're looking for specific things or like images, and it will just kind of mess you up for a bit. And I think that's why I kind of liked it better in, say, like the Blackwell games, where when you input something, it will then just trigger like, hey, you found this specific clue, and now you've unlocked this kind of thing you can look for.
Right. Or in some instances, you can combine the information you had together to solve it, you know? It just was you doing all the work, and me doing all the work, not playing the game, takes me out of the game, which is too much. Researching is a cool mechanic, but it should be stuck within game to use it. That's what I think about it. Another thing that also made it horrendous is that if you guys seen us play the second case with Tiger Lily, doing stamp, droppable stamps around the world, there was a lot of time, dead time of us, just literally, we kept it there on purpose. So you can see us just going through Google. Like, using Google was insane because we found out that, like, one of the places that was the Ottoman Empire stamp had two different spellings. It had a Lebanese spelling of Beirut, which is like Beirut, and then the way I found it in the game was Bey or Beyruth. Either way.
Yeah, Ruth.
Yeah, thank you. So either way, you can see if I'm researching this on my own, I could be filming this, but if you program this in the game, as a mechanic in the game to research for you, you could give me the answer and I would solve it because I figured it out.
Yeah, it helped that we had both of us working on some of the research.
Yeah, we got these thinking caps, you know.
Because it probably would have taken even longer if it was just one of us.
True, and that's why I appreciate you being part of the team. That's why we're the best boys, not best boy. So the thing is, that was a game that kind of just felt like it's interesting what it can do, but it also does that. It takes you away from the game, and it can be a bit jarring. Another thing I didn't like about the game is how it's paced. It's just so rapid fire. I don't get a chance to learn the characters or the case of what I'm doing. It's like, oh, there's some secret shadow guys. Oh, here's this person. I guess you did the job for me. I know you. It wasn't like I was building a rapport with the person or developing my own sense of like cohesion with them. It's just like boom, 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 boom. Hit next point, next point, next point.
Yeah, I know that this was inspired by Carmen Sandiego, and they did similar things on that. where it was just like one case after the other, but their big reasoning on that was because it's what was connected to one overarching case kind of deal that you knew from the get-go was overarching. I wouldn't be surprised if this is an overarching case of like the Ottoman Empire kind of deal, because everything that we've done so far has had some kind of impact from the Ottoman Empire or something from that time period.
Right, but they also...
they're not really connected otherwise, and that just makes it very not connected.
Right, as well as like this shadow conspiracy group, there's this and that. It also doesn't feel... I also didn't like... there's a lot of design space that I feel is a bit wasted in a way, where like in the first couple of cases, there's a lot of things you can do, but you don't really need to do them all. You know, like I could explore half of Chinatown, or maybe you could just limit me to where I need to go, like guide you. Like less is more sometimes. Like the best way to describe it is, I'm going to deter the conversation a bit. Scott, you see me play Monkey Island on the stream, Monkey Island 2 Revenge of LeChuck, right?
Yeah.
Are you aware that majority of the game took place in before we hit the final end of the game, took place in 3 different islands: Booty Island, Fat Island, and Scab Island, right?
Yes. That
was the only places I could explore. I didn't need to explore Dinky Island, I had to explore Monkey Island, I had to explore Melee Island, that's it. That limited space I had was good because I knew where to go, what have you done. There's too much space in Chinatown technically to see where there are multiple towns or multiple areas that's too much. I get it, you're trying to expand a world and universe, but I would rather learn more about the people and the things that are happening than just click around and doing whatever. Obviously, it's more cases that for each case would have individual zones they would do. Perhaps that's the way you should do it. Each cases would have individual zones you go to that you have to solve the puzzles and everything. And another thing I want to talk about is that there weren't enough puzzles in the game that were you playing the game. Most of the puzzles came from the Google search. Those are the Google Foo.
Yeah, I think the most interesting puzzle we had was the cipher.
Yes, that was really cool. That was a cool one.
You know, we actually got to play the game, and they gave us the cipher, and they're just like, now here's the number, here's the code, now just have fun with it.
Exactly. Perhaps later on there's more puzzles that way, but the Google Foo aspect of it really makes it a bit jarring. And that's just pretty much the gameplay in a nutshell. It is a interesting set of ideas, but a lot of it isn't fully fleshed out and put together properly as compared to other point-and-click games in the genre, or at least other mystery adventure games in the genre. I think that there's a lot of potential in it, but because of that potential, I'll have to give this game a solid 3. The gameplay is solid for what it does, but it will make you feel out of touch, out of time, and it will make you feel like you're doing too much that isn't in the game. Is that the best way to describe how you feel about it, Scott?
Yeah, most of your time is not in the game, and I think that is definitely what limits kind of like my desirability of this game.
So I guess
prefer, being in the world and being in the game, doing the research at that kind of browser, and being able to be in the pixel art the whole time when I can.
Yeah. So you also give the game a 3. The potential is there, though. The research mechanic is cool because we've seen it done in other games.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'd say a 3.
3, yeah. So overall, our final score for this game. Let's be overall, I think this is a very interesting game. It has a lot of things going for it. I think artistically is well done. They have good voice acting. But what is this game worth out of a 5? And that's hard. The gameplay itself is a mash of things that has some ideas that are not fleshed out. It does have some action sections, and it does have some puzzles. But is it a strong game? Scott, give us your take.
I think overall, there's a lot of good pieces in this game. The pixel art is fantastic, the voice acting is great, it may need a bit more tweaks in the sound design, and the gameplay, I think, needs to have a research mechanic that's not just Google everything yourself kind of deal.
Yeah.
So I'm not entirely sure overall what I'd give this. Maybe like a 3.5.
Yeah, I'm probably around the same score. It's not like one of the worst games ever played, and it's a game that has a lot of potential. Perhaps if they ever made a sequel, if there was a sequel to the game, like a sequel to it, where they learned from this stuff, they could be better. Because a lot of the ground roots are in here. It's interesting. Playing detectives are cool, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that the Carmen Sandiego effect is cool. You travel the world, solving puzzles, be a globetrotter. That's cool stuff. I think that in order for this game to be much stronger, the research mechanics should be in-game. There should be much more better pacing in the puzzles and those research aspects. And I think another way to make the game much more enjoyable and consistent would be, I would say, pacing of the story and characters. Like, I think Tiger Lily looks cool. I like her dress. I like her attitude. But she just zoom, you know? And the game does feel a bit too zoomer. And that's about it. I think that's the best way to describe this game. It's a game that has a lot of potential. A sequel, if the sequel does come out, I am looking forward to that sequel because there's a lot they can learn from this game to the next one. And it definitely has strong story elements and some cool action mechanics.
I'm excited to see how this goes as well.
Yeah.
Without a sequel, especially if they lean in on like the detective aspect, but being able to, I guess, learn from other venues than just like the Carmen Sandiego kind of style.
Yeah.
As I think that there's a reason why we haven't had a good new Carmen Sandiego game in years.
That's true. There's a couple of that. And there's also other point-click adventure games that we drew our inspiration from Wadgetite Games, who are discussing, like Design Space from Monkey Island, Ron Gilbert's games. There's a lot of things they can learn from to make the world, because their world is huge. There's a lot of things in it. Big. But they have to learn to scale it in a way where it's huge, but I'm still within my own space. I think we could talk, I guess a little tangent, let's describe it as, if you guys want to check us out gameplay, we did play Wolfstride, and we have gameplay videos of that and a review of that as well. Wolfstride is a game that's stuck on one map, but yet the world feels huge. There's so much narrative in that game. Right, Scott?
Yeah. It's huge, plus like they draw you into the characters pretty quickly.
Yeah. So I think the game can do that this time around. Like, if they make a sequel or improvement, draw us into the characters and make us love the world, so it feels expansive to us with all these interesting people we got going on. I mean, you got a secret society, you got a woman who's working as a, let's just say, a madame, with a rich boy who wants to throw away his money. You have our mysterious Rupert Zhao, who seems a little bit sus, let's be honest.
Very sus.
And you have Justin Coe. Justin Coe seems cool, your former detective buddy. There should be ways to make that much more interesting and much more, and there's ways of doing that. So again, this is a game that I look forward to in its sequel in the sequel formats. I think there's a lot they can improve upon. There's a lot of interesting mechanics you can see here, and I think that's this is a good starting point to their sequel games and future games they can make.
Yes, indeed.
Yep. And with that, that is our review of Chinatown Detective. If you guys enjoy the content, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Be sure to hit the bell as well. Hit the like, because it helps us out in the algorithm. And drop a comment. Tell us what you think about the review. Tell us what you think about our takes of it. Is there any other point-click adventure games that you think that this game could they was inspired from, or any other type of games in this genre that could be interesting that you guys like? And if you haven't already, be sure to click our social media links in the bottom, where you should be able to follow us on Twitter. As I mentioned, my Twitch page, Scott's Twitch page, his Twitter, and his other projects he work on. And with that, we'll see you guys in the next one. And I hope you guys enjoy. Have a good one.
See ya.